started out as an Excel spreadsheet, actually, a long time ago. I had this idea that I could copy down a couple of different chord progressions inside of Excel and keep track of them. And then as things started to progress and I got more and more fluent with the theory behind what I was doing, things started to click. And one thing led to another. And all of a sudden I had this fully dynamic working spreadsheet. It wasn't as pretty as this at the time. It was actually quite a hot mess of garbage. But with a little bit of time and love, I managed to get it around to the point where it's something that I'm really proud of now. It's got all of these different scales, progressions, or rather scales and configurations. Has the major and minor chord tones, major and minor scales, the blues scale, minor pentatonic scale. You can put it in any key that you want. If you like jamming out in the key of C major, which is the most common music that you'll find throughout the entire world. Maybe not the most common pop music, but the most common music in general is C major. It's right there, the default one. A minor is the second most common, and it's right there below it. There's a bunch of different configurations that you can get with this spreadsheet and with the Android app, which actually is right here. This is the Android app version of it, and it's got like swipe and stuff like that. It's all free. Everything's free. I want to make sure everybody gets to learn how to play guitar. It's not about making money. It's about people having fun, jamming out like crazy. So in order to just have fun and jam out like crazy, I'm just going to have fun and jam out like crazy. I was all stressed out about how am I going to do this live stream? What kind of crazy script am I going to be writing? At the end of the day, I was completely bombarded, overwhelmed with the complexity of Shredsheets, what I created. This tool I created was a monster, and it got away from me. It was actually really scary. I made this program because I understood the theory behind it, but then after I created it, I created a monster that was capable of doing things that I wasn't able to do. So it could explain things that I didn't understand. I could kind of like bullshit my way through the basic theory and then like try to lay it on top of some of the stuff that I learned. But the truth was, a lot of what I was doing, it just wasn't very honest. It's been like almost 5 years now since I started real honest development on Shredsheets. I think I've gotten to the point now where I really do actually understand it, and I can teach people, and my insights that I've gleaned from the development of this, something I could pass on to others. But I want to make sure that I'm doing it honestly. It's very important I explain to people, and this is important. I never went to school for music. I never went to school for math. I never went to school for basically anything. I have 3 years of college. I have a whole bunch of crazy data science background, the weirdest technical stuff that you could imagine, and I love it. But I never really went to school for it. So there's a lot of times I'll throw around terminology that isn't the appropriate jargon that you would find in the schoolhouse. I just disconnected my headphones for a second. It's not the jargon that you would find in the schoolhouse. Doesn't mean that it won't be able to be communicated accurately. And I always try to align my jargon with the schoolhouse, even if their jargon isn't meaningful or intelligent, and it's just about having clear communication with people. So what I'm going to do in order to get past this self-imposed barrier of knowing that when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm actually pretty full of shit, is I'm going to explore this, and I'm going to do the same thing that I would have normally done on my own, of digging through the program, trying to actually figure out how this actually works, trying to understand music, and I'm just going to talk to you guys as I'm doing. I'm going to share my journey of trying to learn music through this beautiful program that I made that I have no fucking idea how I made it. Hope you enjoy. Here we go. A minor. I'm going to do this in A minor. We're going to use the spreadsheet for this. Down in the description, you can find links for all of the stuff for the spreadsheet or for the Android app, which I know there's some jacked up alignment issues on the Android app. I'm busy getting ready to port it over to libgdx. which is where I'm doing a bunch of game development right now. More on that in a minute. So we're going to do A minor and we're going to do minor chord tones to start this sucker off. Start this sucker off. Oh, that's major chord tones. That's why. Okay, minor chord tones. What on earth does minor chord tones even mean? What does it even mean? Well, it comes down to understanding the scales. And what is a scale? This is the core understanding and the core lesson that really needs to be understood about Shredsheets and about music theory in general. Is a scale is simply a way to divide one thing into different pieces. That's all it is. It's divide one thing into different pieces and consistently use those pieces. We have this amazing thing that happens when you have oscillating strings, these vibrating strings, that when you have the same strength of an attack and you half the length of it, the frequency of it doubles because there's this conservation of energy, momentum. There's less space for it to wiggle, so it has to wiggle faster in order to use up all of that energy. It can't wiggle in a bigger space, so it has to wiggle faster. The same amount of energy has to be used. So what that means is it's an exact halving. That's interesting because music scales logarithmically and exponentially, but we're dividing it into half, and that makes you question like, well, we're doing simple fractions, and it's the sneaky bits right there. It's that half, whatnot. We're actually dividing the exponent. So we're doing like 1 to the 1 over 12. So this is 1 over 12, 2 over 12, 3 over 12, 4 over 12, 5 over 12, 6 over 12, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 over 12. And that takes us to 1. And so, okay. So now we're working inside of fractions, and we're working inside of this rational value, this floating point value between 0 and 1 essentially, with fractions. And instead of having this beautiful continuous line that's, we have discrete steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even when I did this slide, it's discrete steps that are kind of hidden. But if you do it with a bend, do it with a little bit of a bend, you see that like clean rise and drop off, like good old-fashioned calculus. But then, we decided we don't like good old-fashioned clean rise and drop off. We're going to go with discrete steps, baby. Hey, discrete steps make it easier for everybody to play along. Maybe there's less harmonic magicalness that we can have along the way, but that's one of the great things about the guitar. So you can bend your strings. Can't do that with no piano. Well, actually, a lot of pianos you can, so I take that back. Okay, so anyways, getting back to it. So you have this long, continuous line, and we break it up into discrete steps. So we have these frets. These frets are the steps. Frets are the steps. So we say, okay, we're going to break it into a certain number. Why did they decide on 12? Well, there's a bunch of mathematical reasons for it, but essentially 12 is easily divisible by a bunch of different things. So you got like 4 times 3, 3 times 4, of course, it's, back and forth with that. 6 times 2, you got 1 times 12. You got lots of different versions of, you got a lot of different ways to break that up. And that just really doesn't happen with a lot of numbers in the lower values. Once you get up to some really crazy number of frets, you get these crazy fractions that are really useful, but the numbers of frets are so huge that your fingers have to be like microscopically tiny in order to actually play the guitar well. And like you'll see those. I wish I could recall the name of them, but it's where the frets are spaced in this very interesting pattern. But it's the idea is that we take our nice fixed fractions, and it doesn't really work all the way across the spectrum because we're scaling up exponentially, and we're trying to cheat our way by getting the the strings thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. So there's a little bit of drift and we're off a little bit. And they try to fix this with some weird fretting in different places. But I'm really getting away from the point here. I want to get back to the point. Okay, back to the point. Discrete steps. We have 12 discrete steps. So they said, okay, well, music is now 12 discrete steps. You got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then back to 12. Or starting at 1 ends at 12. Okay. If you just jam along and you can play any note inside of that world, we call that the chromatic scale. And we say, okay, it's perfectly valid music. Maybe not the most popular, amazing music, but if everybody's playing in this side, in this scale, you could say everybody is in harmony with each other, whether they're playing enharmonic notes or whatnot. They're still playing together in the same scale. It's just not very interesting. It's hard to get any kind of meaningful patterns. It's a bit kind of a mess. It seems like we're just wandering all over the place. Let's try to add a little bit of structure to that thing. Okay, so instead, we're going to go for some structure. We're going to start off with this minor scale, and we're going to say, let's take the second from the top string right here, this A string, which we would also call the 5th string. We're going to take this A string. It's the second thickest. And we're going to keep it open. We're going to say, okay, that's our string right there. That's open. That's A. I like that. Okay, let's jam on that for a bit. Okay, now the next step that you have available to you. Oh, I'm looking at the chord tones instead of the scale. Let's shift our eyes down here to the bottom one. In fact, let me blow that up so everybody can see it better. Okay, so we're starting off on A again. A. And we're saying, okay, now we're going to put some structure in here and take away some of those notes and say you can't really play some of those notes. We're going to take away the first one. That one. We don't like that sound. We're going to say that's no longer the note that you can play. So we're blacking it out. Say, let's get this a little bit more clear. Let's hide all of these other things. There we go. This is just the A string now. Just the A string. Okay, let's hide the first note, the first fret, so we can't play that one. Okay, let's open up the second fret now. Ooh. Ooh. It's a nice layer of separation right there. That's one fret difference. That's 2 fret difference. 1 fret difference. 2 fret difference. Sounds good. Versus 1. 2. 1. Okay, I like that. Okay, now let's try 3. Ooh, that one actually sounds really cool. Ooh, okay, so we're going to keep that one in. So we got now open, and then the second fret, it's right here, and then the third fret right there. So we're going from open to the first. We're skipping that one. Got past the second. We're on the third. Okay, let's try the 4th fret now. This is the 3rd fret again. Let's try the 4th fret. It's interesting. Wow, there's a major difference between those two. That difference is actually really major. And I choose that term very specifically because this one up here, the 4th fret, using that one instead of the 3rd fret would make this major. That's a very major sound. So if we go open, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, that's a minor progression. Open fret, 2nd fret, 4th fret, that's a major progression. So major. major, minor. Okay, well, what about the very next one? Because I don't know if we're going to use this in our thing right now, but since we're doing a minor scale, we're trying to define the minor scale. Let's keep it, let's omit it. Let's omit it for now. So let's do open, second, third. Open, second, third, second, open. Okay, now let's go try to add the 5th fret. We know the 4th fret makes it major. Let's go to the 5th fret. Wow, that sounds actually pretty major too. Let's see. That's strong. That is a strong note. It's strong, but it doesn't necessarily make it happy. What happens if we switch up between this 3rd and 4th fret inclusions, which would be, if we consider the open note to be the 1st note in our scale and the 2nd fret to be the 2nd note in our scale, let's refer to our scale, these individual positions, as degrees of our scale. So this one is our 1st degree. This one would be our 2nd degree, the 2nd fret. Our 3rd degree was the one that we had that interesting characteristic where it went from being minor to being major. Minor, major. The difference is so profound that putting them together is really awkward. It's interesting. Definitely makes for musicality. They don't harmonize with each other very well, though. They clash. They don't really go together. That clashing makes it interesting musically, but they don't go together. But what about this 5th fret that's really strong? What if we do that with the minor 3rd degree? I'm going open, 3rd, open, 5th, which happens to be the 1st degree, the 3rd degree, back to the 1st degree, and then to now what would be our 4th degree. And you see that it has this 4 right here after the colon in it. D colon 4. That's the 4th degree. You'll notice that our 3rd degree has this colon B3. That's actually a flat symbol. It's a musical flat symbol, which means that this is a 3, but it's a little flat, which means that the pitch is a little bit lower than a normal 3. If it was a sharp 3, it would look like a pound sign or a hash symbol. And let's see, I can get that with a sharp. See this pound sign right here? That's the musical sharp symbol. Let's get back to A. Okay. So we got that beautiful, beautiful flat 3 right there. So we're going 1 3 1 4 1 3 1 4. Now what if we go to the, instead of the minor, let's go to the major. Let's go to the major 3rd. See how our 3rd popped over here? Now it's C sharp, but it's not a sharp 3rd. It's just the note name is sharp. The degree is still just a regular 3. That was a mistake on my part, actually. I was playing the wrong notes. I was playing right there. I was playing the minor version again. Here we go, major version. Wow, that is really profoundly different. Let's get these two guys going in different ways. So let's get this minor up here. A minor. Let me hide everything but A. Okay, now we got minor versus major. I like that better. I like that. Okay. So you see in the minor on top, the third is flat. But on the major, the third is right there. Right there, it's major. But the fourth is exactly the same in that. And then we're going to skip the next one, but let's see what this one sounds like. So this is back to the fourth. This is the first, which is open. And then the fourth degree, which is the fifth fret. And now this is the sixth fret, which is blacked out. Fifth fret, sixth fret. It's really interesting. People would normally say that there's a lot of dissonance here with this one. I don't know about that. I really don't know. That's a tough one. In contrast to the previous note, there is a little bit more dissonance. Actually, I feel a lot more dissonance now that I'm really specifically listening for it. Dissonance is when it doesn't sound right together. Perfect harmony is like when something's an octave of itself, like you can hear everything like slowly line up perfectly, and then like the room vibrates together. But dissonance would be like if something's exactly the opposite of it. It's supposed to add like this jarring feeling. And here in the minor chords, jarring feelings are supposed to actually be really quite important to us. We enjoy the feeling of being jarred in the minor world. I guess in the entire classical music world, or in the metal world, maybe even the hip hop and the reggae world. Oh, especially in like dubstep and electronic music world, the idea of being jarred is really important. It's actually super important. If you're not jarring somebody and you're playing elevator music. So let's get back to this. Okay, so we got the seventh fret. That's the fifth. That's the fifth degree. And you might hear somebody refer to something as like, oh, now raise it to a fifth. Now lower it to a fifth. Fifth is the most commonly used scale degree term by everybody, regardless of whether or not they if people know music theory, they'll use whatever the appropriate term is for whatever it is. But if they don't know music theory super well, and they're just trying to pull out some generic music theory terminology for whatever they're doing, mentioning a fifth, raise it to a fifth, or like, oh, it's a fifth or a fourth, they'll use those two because it's the most common. It's called the dominant degree, and there's a reason for that. It's because it is the most harmonic with the bass note. So if we're doing A, then man, my pitch is terrible right now. I can't hit anything without like really coming into it. But like they align so close together. Let me get this note correct for myself. Now watch this. Did you hear that? I did like a power chord with my voice. That's because the E note and the A note are in such close, tight mathematical relation to one another that there is no other ratio that is more aligned other than a perfect doubling or quadrupling and eighth or whatever like that of a note. So you get more close with. And you probably heard it as it like came in close, and it's like wow. As it gets like really close and tight, everything sort of like aligns and vibrates, and then stops vibrating because the vibration that we feel is actually from harmonic disalignment. Okay, so that's the fifth. Going back from the open note, that's the E right there. Oops, wrong button on my thing. I keep hitting the wrong button. Open note to the 7th fret. Now let's try to go through the progression that we have to this point. So we got the 2nd fret, the 3rd fret, the 5th fret, and the 7th fret. So we got open, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 7, 5, 3, 2, open. Had to throw that octave in there. All right, that takes us up to the 5th. We're not done yet. We got the 6th and the 7th still. And the 6th is my personal favorite note, personal favorite scale degree. So let's hear what it sounds like. Here's open, A. Then here's an F. Wow, I love that sound. Now let's throw in a 4 and a 5 leading up to that 6. So we're going to go boop, 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 boop. The 6th feels so unique. Feels like it really brings us somewhere that has the potential for change, has the potential to disrupt the flow and the vibration of the current pattern, because we don't know where it's supposed to go. And that right there is the 7th. That's the flat 7th. It's the 10th fret right here. And it's the last note before we get to the octave of the degree of the scale that we're in. So that 7th is a magical, really truly important tone. That's an important tone right there. It sounds like it complements the principal tone, but it's missing something, like it's almost there. Like it wants to complement it, but it can't, because it's not there yet. And that feeling is so unique, coupled with the flat 6 right before it. You can get this amazing feeling of almost got it. Oh, darn it, didn't get it. And that feeling in music is so important. Let's see what we can get with that feeling. almost unintentionally, we play a sour note. One that doesn't fit. One that's wrong. And we say, oh, that's wrong in a new way. Why is that so wrong? I think that is the worst, most dissonant note. And it's only in relation to the progression when you're doing it in a minor scale. Enough time has passed now that this note sounds happy, sounds warm, sounds good. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a major 6. And this is actually my favorite sound. Major 6th. And when you're playing in a minor scale and you got a minor progression going, when you get that major 6th, there's nothing more wrong. There's nothing more incorrect in the position than that beautiful major 6th. And I think it's because in the major scale, that major 6th is also the most elegant and beautiful tone. So when you're trying to get the opposite of elegant and beautiful tone, and you accidentally get the beautiful and elegant tone, it kind of throws everything off. Pardon me, I'm so sorry for that. Apologize to anybody if they're using headphones. If so, sorry. Okay, so let's get back and just run through our entire progression now that we're all the way back up to the 12th fret, which is A again. We're going to go open, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret, 10th fret, and then 12th fret. And when we get to the 12th fret again, we're going to have gone all the way around the circle, and we're going to be able to continue our progression, replicating the exact same thing over and over again from the 12th to the 24th fret. This is the same exact structure as it was over here on the left. But we're not going to do that right now. We're going to keep everything between the 1st and the 12th fret on one string, A minor. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed your time, and I hope I haven't annoyed you too much with these horrible camera cuts. I'm going to have to figure out some way to do that a little bit better. But I had a great time doing this, a great time playing. I'm going to have to do another one of these videos, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace. Thank you all very